to the Startup Grind.
Tonight I'd like to present Ken Rutyna, who is Knight Technology Group. And he started his business over 9 years ago, and he's been growing steadily ever since. So I'd like a big round of applause for Ken. Thank you. Thank you. All right, sounds good. So tell me how you got started.
Well, I came from a big IT house, a big company, and I was one of the engineers in the field. And we had 600 engineers at the time, and we catered to small business, and we had some big clients. But as the company changed, and as the dynamic changed to the company going to just big clients, they left all the small clients behind. So I was in the field, and then I became the IT director of that company. And then as that company changed, I noticed that that market was left behind. So the company started going one way, and I started seeing the industry being left behind. So I decided to leave that company, and then that's when I founded Knight Technology Group.
Okay, so give us an idea of who your typical client is then now.
Well, our typical client ranges from one guy in an office with a laptop all the way up to we have whole school districts or hospitals, and normally we don't try to go over a certain amount of users, so 500 users or less. And that's because that's a typical small business, is 500 users or less. And it's either they have an IT department or we are their IT department. So we have some places where we augment their IT department, so they call us in for projects. We have people on site, and then we do a lot of conversions and projects. But it's normally 500 users or less, and it ranges in every business. So we have philanthropy, medical, automotive, industrial, schools, education, libraries, government, so we do everything.
Okay, and so what exactly do you do?
Well, I'm not only am I the head designer, architect, I also do the sales, I do all the project management, I do all the ordering, I deal with the vendors, I deal with all the CDW quotes and orders, I manage all my employees, I manage all the clients, so I do everything, I wear every hat.
Okay. Sounds pretty familiar. So once your business grows, you're still wearing all the hats.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started the company, it was just me, right? So I did everything. Now I have a team of 8, and each guy has a set group of clients that I say, you're the ownership of that, but I still interface with the client. I still set the schedules, I still take all the problems, and we handle all the projects. But when I first started, I did everything, because it was just me.
Right.
And then as you grow, you have to start to let your trusted guys manage some of that stuff. So once I let them manage the stuff, then it becomes a little easier for me. Now I can start selling more, meeting with the CEOs, designing the solutions for their companies, and then we take those things, plan them, implement them, and install them.
Okay. And how big do you see yourself getting? Like, how big would you like to grow ultimately?
Well, some people they want to be huge, they want to be big. I would like my company to get to about 50 employees and be good with that. Okay. I want to have a good group of people that I pay well. I pay our guys very well. I give them a lot of time off. I want everybody to enjoy their life. IT is a very stressful job. I know, I've been doing it since I can remember. And 50 employees is where I'd like to see the company get to. And I mean, if it got bigger, then I'd still entertain it, but 50 is where I'd like to see it get to and be a very good house that people would constantly want to call.
Okay. And so you said that you pay your employees well and you give them a lot of time off. Are there other ways that you'd like to compensate your employees?
Well, I mean, we're on the phone all the time, so we give allowances for phone, and we drive a lot because there's, in Detroit, you have to drive. Right. There's nowhere to go. There's no mass transit. So we give a gas allowance and stuff like that. But all of them, and the other thing is like when you're a mechanic in an auto body shop or something, your tools are that's everything you have. In our line of work, your laptop or your software and everything you have is your tool. Mm-hmm. So all of my guys have the top of the line equipment. They have everything they need. So they can go to any employee or any client and they can walk in. They don't have to struggle for anything. They have it at their fingertips. Yeah.
I'm going to work for Ken. So what do you tell people that you do? Like, since you do all these things, is there a way that you just sum it up, or?
Yeah, I have a lot of people ask, well, what do you do? Well, you know, some people don't understand what computers are, right? They have a computer on their desk and oh, you're the computer guy. You know, well, it's a little bit more than that. So I tell them we do anything that has to do with electronics, that goes from the internet, their email, their computer, their software, their engineering, the security, how they access their network, remote access. And, you know, for an average person, they just know you do anything with computers? Oh, okay, that's good enough. For CEOs and other people that know more, you can get more detailed. Okay. But for the average person, we just say anything to do with computers, we take care of it.
All right. So with this big tech boom that's going on now in Detroit and all this excitement to get the tech community up and running, I think maybe for the layman it's a little confusing, like to differentiate what's going on there versus what you do, because you've been around for a while and this is like this new excitement that's building. Can you tell us how the two interface?
Well, you know, you have two types of technology here. So you've got all the stuff that's online. Mm-hmm. So all the tech stuff that .com this and whatnot. Well, that all rides on the stuff that we engineer. So all the networks and the design and all your servers and your firewalls and your security, that's what we do. Okay. And we'll do your mail systems and all that. But then your applications or anything on the cloud, they're going to ride on somebody's system that they've built the foundation on. So we build the foundation and we get your stuff running. Now, I'm not a programmer. None of my guys are. I have one that's sort of a programmer. But we don't make apps for your phone. That's somebody else is going to do that, and they're going to put it on Amazon Cloud. Now, they might not know how to do that. That's when they'll call us, and we'll help them engineer it to get it out there so then they can sell it, put it online, whatever they need to do. Okay. You know, we do security assessments, stuff like that. So there's a lot of security like Target right now. There's all this stuff going on. Well, that's a whole nother area of IT onto itself, just security. Okay. So there's all different facets, and they do go together, but they're still kind of separate, and they have to talk to each other. But right. What we do is different from what the .com stuff is. Okay.
And how did you choose the name of your company?
Yeah. Well, you know, that's kind of entertaining. Well, okay, I mean, this goes back to the 80s, okay? So this is, you know, I was a kid in the 80s, and there was a lot of great shows back then, you know, Dukes of Hazzard. And one of the great shows I liked all the time, I thought it was cool, was Knight Rider. I love, he talked to his car talked back, it picked him up, it was cool. So, you know, and it was the Knight Foundation, the law of government, all this other stuff, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And when I was working at Sequoia, there was a transport service that's actually not far from the company I worked at, uh-huh. And they had a cool Knight logo on their truck, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And I love chess. I play chess, and I kept thinking, knights, and it's cool, and and then I started playing words on knight in shining armor saves the day and all that kind of stuff, and then I just said, I really like this, so I just knight is person back in medieval times that was shining, and he would save the day and save the damsel in distress, whatever. I'm like, we'll go with that. And then but again, when you're designing a company name, right. Today you have to make sure that name isn't already in use on the internet, right. Or it hasn't been taken by somebody else, or whatever. So it took me a long time to actually come up with the name. It was a little easier because I can spell it all out, but the acronym KTG is what we normally do, but that domain, of course, is long gone. Right. So we have ktg-corp.com, and that is what we use for our email address. We have the full name as well, but you write Knight Technology Group or type it. It's a long name. Sure. So you want to abbreviate it. So that's how we came up with the name, or I came up with it. And then we have... and that's how I got the name. That's
a good story. I'm surprised you didn't use a car, but maybe that was too close.
No. I like the knight in shining armor thing, and that's where I came up with that. I like the logo of the truck, the transportation truck. It had a knight thing, and I tried that at first, but it just didn't work out. So I had a friend of mine who did some really good work on my new logo, and it's really nice. So yeah, that's how I came up with the name.
All right. It's a good story.
Yeah, that's how it came to be.
So, all right, was there ever a moment when you thought you'd throw in the towel? Like, this is it, I can't do this anymore?
Well, I don't know. Okay, when we first started the company, there was a lot of work. And I mean, I worked a lot. I think I probably worked more than I ever worked before in my life. And it took a while to get it up and running. I mean, it was a learning curve that was huge because I didn't have anybody to give me pointers or, I happen to know a lot of good people that knew people that could get me information. It's how we got our accountant. It's how I got our, all these people that helped us get things going. And I had a lot of loyal clients from way back from my old consulting days that started with us. So I worked a ton, and it was hard for the first, I would say, 6 months to a year. It was really hard. I didn't want to give up because I was determined to make it work. Now, I had a lot of people that I used to work for and with that, oh, you'll never make it. It's too hard. You'll never do it. And no is not a good, I don't subscribe to that. You can make it happen if you want it to happen. So I kept working at it, and it just kept me getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I finally hired a few people, and then it got bigger. And then the economic in 2008 hit.
Right.
And that was bad. We had huge projects lined up, and one day after another, they were canceled. And everybody stopped spending money. So I was like, oh, this could be a problem. And we had to downsize, just like most companies did. The beauty was none of my guys ever were out of a job. So the places they were at, they actually wanted them. So we figured out a way to make it reputable for them and us, and they got jobs, and we just downsized. And then as 2008, 2009, it started picking up, and then we came up. Now, were there days in IT that I go, I hate IT, I don't want to do this anymore? Yeah, there are. But I never want to give up. It's just there's bad days. Some days are really great, and then there's days like a couple weeks ago, I was just like, this is the worst day in my IT career. I can't believe this. I hate this. But it's just a day. And you get through the day, and the next day it's better. And then, it's like Christmas. Today we picked up a whole new batch of equipment. It's all brand new stuff, and we love it. It's all new stuff. So today's a great day. So it just depends.
So what do you tell yourself on the bad days? Like, how do you get through the bad days that you just don't pick up the phone and say, all right, we're done?
No, it's just a bad day. I talk to my friends, and we laugh about whatever it was, and then I go, well, it's today. I'm done. Tomorrow will be a new day. And the next day you get up, and it's better than it was before. And then you just keep on going.
So you said that you didn't have anybody to mentor you, to tell you what to do on your learning curve and your journey building your business. So what advice would you give somebody now if they wanted to do what you were doing?
Well, they need to try and reach out, either find a friend or somebody that's done this or has been doing it for a while. I helped a friend he wanted to do the same thing. He came from the same company I was at, and he was starting his business. And he reached out to me, and I gave him all the people he needed to talk to. I said, here's what you got to do, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And he got his company up in about a month. It saved him a ton of time.
Yeah.
And all the work I had done in a year, he was able to do in about 6 weeks. So he was ecstatic. And he's still in business today. And I was happy I was able to help him. So if you can have somebody that you know that's done it, or a friend who knows somebody, or, I don't know, big companies are, they've been established for a long time. So how did they start up? Well, I don't know. It could have been, they've been around for 20 years. It exists. Where I can still remember the day we started the company. So I remember that like it was yesterday. So smaller companies, ask a small business owner, hey, how did you start this? If it's a friend of a friend, or maybe you buy products from someplace and they're small, just say, hey, how did you guys get this started? Most business owners are willing to share their experience and say, yeah, this is how you go. Oh, hey, watch out for this, and hey, look out for that. So you just have to
That's great
ask
advice.
the question.
No, because I think most people would be afraid to ask. They would see them as competition, but I do think there's a spirit A fellowship.
A real entrepreneur will want to help the next guy because they want them to succeed just like they did. So nobody helped me. We had to learn it all.
Right.
I would have loved to have somebody just give me a few pointers to get going. So I've done that for about 2 or 3 other people that I've known over the years that have started businesses. So I love teaching and I love helping other people. So if he makes a successful business and he's running it, then I helped him get off the ground. That's great. I'm happy that he got off the ground and he's running his business. And he is a competitor to me.
Right.
But that's fine. I know him personally, so I know he's a good person, and I know he wanted to do this, and so he is.
So you said that you've had steady growth since you began. Did you have a growth plan, or do you have one now that you're working to keep or strive towards? Or has it just been...
Yeah, growth is hard. It depends on the business. So we don't sell widgets. So our business model is more of project-based. So project-based IT is a little bit harder to scale growth because you have to have enough projects in the pipeline to keep things going. And when you have like a staffing model where you just have people sitting at a site doing tickets or the same job over and over, well, that's pretty easy to calculate your revenues and all that. Whereas we have some of that, but we are more project-based. So companies will call us when they have break fix or we have old equipment we need to migrate to all new stuff. So it's hard to forecast, but we do a pretty good job, and I've been doing it so long that we can forecast out pretty far, 6 months to a year. So right now we're extremely busy, and it just picked up. And normally between Christmas and February it's slow, but now it's extremely busy. Now that doesn't mean come March we're slow for 3 weeks. It could happen. So do I have a plan for growth? Yeah, I'm selling more, we're getting more clients, so that growth is more clients equal more projects equal more time. And that's basically what we sell. We're like attorneys, you sell your time. I can't make more time, I can only sell what I have. Right. So the more people we have, the more time we sell, the more employees we have, and then we keep growing that way.
And then how has your industry changed since you first began?
The big thing is remote access.
Okay.
So when we first started, if something was down, you would have to go. You'd have to go to the site. You'd be there all day. Now I can be, and I've done it. I've been in St. Kitts on vacation, and I've been, hang on, I'll be right there, and I'm on the server fixing their problem or calling one of my guys, I need you to go to the site while I'm on the phone with him remotely, and remote access is huge. You can do anything remotely now. There's no need to physically go and do something unless you have to move something or something is completely broke where a physical person has to be on site.
Okay.
That's big.
All right. I know I've used it before, so it's great. It's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
Give us an idea of like how a customer becomes a loyal customer. What's from the first sell to their transition to a consistent, loyal person?
Well, there's a couple of factors with that. So a lot of customers and we've just picked up a couple of new ones, their previous IT vendor or whoever was servicing them was, we'll just say, suboptimal.
Okay.
Not good.
Okay.
And they've been mistreated so poorly that when I come in and I just show them the basic stuff, they just are blown away. And it shouldn't be that way. The most basic stuff everybody should be able to have today. Even a small business can have what a huge enterprise has because there's no reason why you can't have it. It's actually easier for a small business because the cost is less. For a customer that's new to become a loyal customer, we are loyal to all of our customers, whether they're the big ones or the small ones. I don't care if it's the one guy or the 500. We respond to them as if they're our only customer. They all know that, and if we have a down customer, we all hands on deck. We get that customer up and running. Even if we had other projects that are not critical, like they're down, they understand, and we take care of our client. We bring them back on, and then we'll go. They all know that, and over time, customer service is all you have today. So if you don't have customer service, you're not going to have clients. Okay. So we respond immediately to just the most basic emails, phone calls, messages. I get texts. I'm getting some right now. So it doesn't matter. You have to respond, and that is how you keep your clients. If you respond and you're honest, even if you don't know the answer, and there are times we have clients that ask for things that we don't have the answers to, but we'll get the answers for them. So if we give them that information, we've had clients I've had one client since 1999, and they're still our client today. They were a client at the previous company that's no longer in existence, but they are still our client today, and they've been with me since 1999.
Great. So what are the services, because you were saying even a small company should have these basic things that big companies have.
Right.
What is that?
Okay, so a lot of small companies, they get, we had that big snowstorm, right?
Right.
Okay, nobody was going anywhere. But there's a lot of small companies that don't have remote access. So, and it's not because they didn't have the money to buy it, is that their vendor didn't tell them that they could have it. And here's how to set it up. And we'll do it for you for minimal fee. Now you can sit at home, get into your network, and still work.
Right.
But they didn't do that. A lot of big companies have that already, and everybody knows how to use it. So small companies don't know that it exists because their vendor doesn't know, or is maybe not up to par. Maybe they didn't come from the big IT world, and I did come from the big IT world. So I've seen all the big stuff you can have. We have that, and we're a small company. I have everything that a huge company has. So that's just one thing, just remote access.
Uh-huh.
So, web mail. Small companies, some of them are still using the old legacy pop mail, which is old school.
Right.
Today you don't need that. You can have hosted mail somewhere where you can get it on your phone, on your PC, in your tablet, it doesn't matter. But they don't know that because they haven't been told. Right. And so those are some of the things. Okay.
So how does being an entrepreneur affect your relationships with your friends and family?
Oh yeah, that's nice. That's good. That's great. Well, you can probably tell I have friends and family here, so we get comments from the gallery. Let's see that one. Well, my friends all know I work a lot. So, and my friends are all in the industry. So they work like me. They're working at night, or we're working on the weekends, or all time of the day. It doesn't matter. And I've had these friends forever. So that's not a big deal. All my new friends, they're all in the industry as well, so they all work too. So that's, everybody knows. As far as my relationship with my wife, she's really understanding. But she kind of knew that when we were getting this going. Uh-huh. I don't think at first neither of us knew how much time it was going to take in the first year or two. And it was tough. But I try to make it, define the time, and whatever time I'm not working, I spend time with my wife, or we're with the grandkids, or whatever we're doing, and I try to separate some time away from work, because I could literally work 20 hours a day every day.
So how do you do that? How do you create that time? Do you just leave everything at home?
I turn it off.
Okay.
I just say, it's time to go watch a show, or it's time to, let's go down to, let's go away for the weekend, or let's just, we just go stuff. Or sometimes she does, hey, you need to get away. We're going away for 3 days to Mackinac. Great, let's go. And of course the laptop's still got to go with me, but I don't take it out unless it's an emergency.
All right, because it is hard to disconnect, especially now.
It is.
I mean, even when you started 9 years ago, it was much easier to pull the plug, and now it's prevalent everywhere.
Well, your phone, you could text you.
Right.
Everybody's got your cell phone number, they can text you. They're calling the office, or they're sending you an email, so it's really hard to get disconnected, but you have to somehow pull away once in a while from it. And over the Christmas break, which normally is kind of busy, but this year it was nice and smooth, and I had some time off, and I literally did not do a lot for 2 weeks, and I worked very little, and it was great. I loved it. So
you mentioned when you were getting started how tough it was. So now that you're looking back, how is running the business different than you thought it would be?
Well, I thought when we first started the business, I I had to do everything, and I didn't have a lot of contacts. So you have to make all the first contacts to get vendors, software companies, products that you're selling to your clients. You have to research, you have to do all this work. In the beginning, I had to do all of it. So I didn't have any contacts with anybody. So I would have to meet CDW, contact them, create accounts, do this, do that, do this. Now that I've established all these contacts and all these relationships, it's much easier to just, I don't have to, if I need something for a client, I just call my guy at CDW and 5 minutes later it's done. There's no work effort involved. Whereas before I had to do a lot more work. So it's a little bit more easier to run the day-to-day because I've already established the base of all the things. Now I have people calling me. So now they call me, hey, Ken, we need this, or hey, Ken, we want to do that. So as before, as I had to go do it all, now it's the opposite. It's just because we've been established for a long time. Okay. And our name gets passed around and it's all word of mouth.
Right.
So that's the difference now is I wouldn't say the business will run itself, but it's easier to run it than it was in the beginning, even though I have more people.
Do you, is it different now than you envisioned? Did you think you'd be working harder? Did you think you'd be working less?
I thought I would be working less. Yeah, I thought I'd be working less. I think I do work less than it was when we first started. It definitely is less than that. It's still a lot of work, but it's changed. So before, I was working, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, but I was going from place to place to place and, consulting. Now I can work, 6 hours out of the house and I'm working maybe 2 or 3 or 4 at home, but I'm remote. So I can do the stuff or we work from the office or whatnot, and I don't have to be driving around. So do I work less than it was when I first started? Yeah. Is it a lot less? That's tough to say. I mean, there's some days I just say, yeah, I'm just working remote. That's it. The guys are going to go and I'll manage that and I'll take calls and yeah, I have that flexibility, but it's probably less than it was, but I don't know if it's a whole lot less. It's still a lot of work.
And so what do you want to be when you grow up? Is this it? Or do you have some other aspirations?
If there's anybody out there that has a Formula One race car that would like me to drive it, I'm your man. I will no pay. I'm in. Now, I like IT. I really do. I started doing this with an Atari, like when I was a kid, and I programmed Frogger for hours, and then the thing lost and my friends were like, oh, we can't play Frogger, and I programmed it for another hour, and I always loved technology. So I like doing IT. I would like to do more of the teaching aspect of it, which I'm doing with our employees. So all my employees when we hire employees, I want to teach them so they understand how how you need to take care of clients, how to be a consultant, how to understand what the client, you have to listen, understand, make a plan, and a lot of people don't know how to do that. And I learned from a lot of people that taught me when I was 20 and as I grew up how to do that. So now I'm doing that with my employees. So they're more, when they first get hired, and I think there should be more of this, is an apprenticeship. So when my employees come on, they stay with me for 3 months. We go from place to place to place. They see everything I do and how I do it. So they understand how it should be done and the way we do it.
Right.
It might be different somewhere else,
sure,
but the way I run the business is the way I would like them to do it because they're an extension of me.
Okay.
So.
And then you had mentioned in our emails back and forth that you wanted to do more for the entrepreneurial community here in Detroit. What are some of the ideas that you had?
Well, so I have a friend who lives in Colorado, and some of the stuff that we've been seeing in other places where he's been and he talks to is like as this gets bigger, they're doing in Colorado, and I was talking to somebody here, whereas as people get bigger and there's independent contractors and there's people that are looking for jobs, right?
Right.
Well, this is a great forum for having companies like me come in, and I hired a web guy who I met from a friend of a friend, and had I not known this, I would have never found this great web guy. He's building our new website. It's fantastic. But I would have never found this guy. And I've been looking for web developers forever, and it's hard. It's hard to find good vendors. It's hard to find good people. But if you have a forum like this, you could have people that get interested in, hey, I'm an independent contractor. I do this. They could come to a forum like this, and you could say, hey, I'm hiring. I'm looking for something. And somebody can come in and say, I need a job, and this is what I do. And it's just networking and mingling. So that would be a great thing where you could do that. Now, I want to get more involved in helping people that want to start a business. I would be more than happy to help them. Hey, here's some very basic things that we hit roadblocks, and if you could miss those, you'll be way ahead of the game. So that's, I mean, if anybody needs help or whatever, they feel free to email me, or you can pass my
This is
number.
like going on the web.
Yeah, that's fine. They can email me, they can call, whatever. That's fine. I like teaching. The problem is, I don't have a teaching certificate or whatever. So, I mean, I can't work in a school, and I wouldn't want to do that. But if I could have an open forum where I could tell people, hey, this is how you do this, or watch out for that, and look out for this, and hey, by the way, talk to this guy. He's going to help you a lot. Then I would love to do that.
So what question have I not asked you? What would you like us to know about you?
You haven't asked me anything about my racing, but that's no. Not too much. I'm pretty much an easygoing guy. I mean, I'm not. Everyone in our company, the guys all love technology. They like eat it for breakfast. I mean, they all love it. So. They're all pretty easygoing. They're all like-minded like me. Everybody works hard. I work hard. And we're the most honest company you'll meet, because I can't stand when I get ripped off personally. So we're the same thing. And even my accountant and my office manager says, you are giving away too much stuff. And that's just, we build long-term relationships with clients. And when we do that, sometimes I go, you know what? That's on us. We're going to take care of that for you. Don't worry about that. And that's just some of the stuff we do. Not every company is like that.
All right.
So.
And what can I do to help you?
What can you do to help me? Keep doing what you're doing. Let's
right.
keep growing this bigger.
Okay.
And get more people interested. And if I can help do that, I'm willing to do that, whatever that might be.
I can do that. So I'd like to open the floor up to questions. If anybody has a question for Ken tonight.
I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the red flags, and what are some of the things you should watch out for if you're dealing with a company in your space or your vertical?
I always do research on the company before they call, or when they call us and they want to engage us. I do a little research on the company to make sure, A, they're a viable company. I've had some issues with some companies calling and they're not viable. So you need to make sure that the company you're going to work with doesn't, that they know what they want to do. There's a lot of people that are indecisive about what exactly it is. And if you're a consultant, it's your job to figure out what they want to do, what their goal is, and how to get them to that goal and make the plan to get them there. So the red flags for me are if they're indecisive and they're just constantly, they can't make up their mind, that's not good. Someone has to be the decision factor, and somebody has to make a decision. If you're not making decisions, you're not going to move forward. The other thing is if they're viable monetary-wise. There's a lot of companies that start up and they don't have anything backing them, and you can get into trouble if you get into a job, and if you're small, you can get hurt, because then you're going to do a lot of work and you might not get paid on the back end. So you have to be careful about that. Pretty much those are the two biggest things that I've learned over the time. The other thing is when if you're doing true consulting, you can't favor a particular product. So you can't be, I'm only Dell because Dell gives me spiffs. Or I'm only this particular product, like I'm only HP, or I'm only this. You have to fit the product for the thing. If a client is dead set on something and that's what they use, then that's great. But that could be a red flag for you if a company only wants something for a particular reason. Now, that might be their choice, but as a consultant, you have to show them there might be a better way of doing it, and you have to prove that case to them.
What are spiffs?
Spiffs are kickbacks.
Okay.
That's what we used to call them back in the day. They were called spiffs. So spiffs are kickbacks from the vendor. If you sell X amount, you'll get a nice check because you sold a certain amount of stuff. It's great, but then you're tying yourself to a particular product, and that product might not be the correct fit for the client. So that is not true consulting. We don't get any kickbacks or spiffs from any vendor for any product. We recommend the correct product for the right solution. So there might be a solution that is for this guy that might not work at all for this guy. And it might be two totally different products. We have a huge scale of products we know. So, it might be, this product is great for this client, but not for that one, and they get a totally different one.
I'm going to Bogart for just a second. And you're big on education. Do you send your people for training, or do you do everything in-house? Or
training, yeah, okay, training. Okay, so, I've gone to a lot of, we'll call them training classes. Most of the training classes were in labs that were absolute perfect worlds. So there was no variable, it was the same thing over and over, and they didn't help me. College was lost in the IT world. We were smarter than the professor. We were teaching him, and that wasn't good. So training is more of hands-on and the apprenticeship that I talk about. So the way that we learn and the way that I learn is hands-on. Get the product, get a demo, call the vendor, get something, play with it, break it, fix it. Break it again. Build a lab. Do that. Actually do what the client's going to do in your lab. Test it, their problems. And then a lot of reading. Certain products like virtualization, stuff like that, yes, training is key. But there's a lot of product that there is no training for. You have to know the product, play with the product, and some of the training, again, is in perfect lab. It won't teach you real-world experience. So if you can get real-world experience with somebody that's done it, you're leaps and bounds over somebody that came out of a class. It's my experience over the last 15 years. That's what we see.
All right. I'm sorry.
You've shared some of your experiences with downsizing during the down economy, but can you highlight some of the growing pains that you went through as a company, and how you overcame them? And if you could go back and do it again, would you do it differently?
Yeah, so the growing pains were to the point where I was working 80 to 100 hours a week and not seeing my wife or my son, or not even, sleeping 4 hours a day, and it was rough. If I could do it again, I would be able to forecast that better and would have been able to find people sooner that I could have brought up to speed. That way I wouldn't have had to work those amount of hours.
How would you forecast it?
Well, that's where I've been learning. So the project-based, it's hard to forecast so far away. So at the time when we started getting busy, I wasn't forecasting a lot because I was so busy just working that I didn't have time to run the actual numbers and figure out the projects coming down the line. Now that I have more people, I can now look at the projects coming down the line and forecast it better. But when it was just me, I would have liked maybe somebody to help me forecast that, or maybe show me, hey, you've got a lot of work coming. You might want to consider, looking at hiring a person and getting them in line and, start ramping up. I didn't have that, so I literally was just working to death. And then after I got through that phase, I went, I need to hire people so I don't have to work to death, and I can start running the business and forecasting and doing that kind of thing. So would I change it? Yes. I would have gone back. If I could go back to that time and told myself, hey, you're going to be really busy. You need to stop, look at how much work you got, and look at getting a person now. That brings me to the next problem with that, is hiring a good person, which is very difficult. I've gone through many people and lots of resumes to find good people. It's very hard. So you have to know people, talk to people, friends of friends of friends that have worked with that guy. I've seen that guy. I've been in the Metro Detroit my whole life, so I know a lot of people, and I know somebody that may know that person. So it's easier to find out who is good and who's not. But it's still very hard to find good people. A lot of good talent left Michigan when the economic downturn. I have a lot of friends that moved out west and to Texas. They just left. So it's harder. But yeah, that's what I would change.
What?
Ken, what do you like least about being a small business owner? Like, what are the tasks? Some people really like the sales part of it. Some people really like the technical part of it. Some people don't like some aspect of it. What's your least favorite part?
Least favorite part. My least favorite part would probably be doing when things are just the team is not functioning right, and I have to be the owner and you've got to get this done. Why isn't this done? I have to sit them down in the room, and talk to them, and that's my least favorite part. Is when the team is not working efficiently, or one member of the team is not pulling their weight, and I have to sit them down and I have to say, why is this a problem? We need to correct this. And that's my least favorite part, because I don't like doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with failure? Like any small business, you're getting off the ground, you're going to deal with failure sometimes. It's not a success day after day. So is there any time that you can think of that you really face something like a big disaster or catastrophe, and how do you deal with those kinds of situations?
Yeah, I haven't had many of those. You happen to know me, so I'm pretty conservative and I'm careful, and I'm very consistently methodical. But we've had some failures in the past where some big things, and it just happened. I do worry about those when they happen, but I literally will just look at that as a grain of salt and just go, okay, this is a problem. I'm not going to worry about it. I just need to move forward and find something we've lost this. I need to look at replacing the loss with all new stuff. Whatever that might be, I either have to generate something new, figure out something new, make more contacts, and just move forward. It's hard though, because there have been a couple of them that I thought it was, this is a game changer. This could be bad. But I'm a pretty lucky guy, and for whatever reason, one door shut and four more open. So sometimes it's actually a blessing in disguise. I don't look at the failure or a loss as that's the end of the road. I look at it as, okay, that's just something that's going to change the trajectory of the company. We're just going to modify the way we work, and we'll just go this way. Whereas a big company might not be able to do that. They're like the Titanic, right? They're just going along, and they just can't turn the boat, and they just hit the iceberg. Well, a small company can do that. Even companies that are 500 or less, they can change quickly. But when you get big companies, Lear, GM, they can't change that quick. They're trucking. So that's when I have a failure. I worry for a small period of time, but worrying, I've learned over a long time. My wife helped me with this. Worrying about something you cannot change isn't going to help you at all. You got to worry about the stuff that you can affect and maybe make a positive out of the negative, and it always works out. It just seems to work out.
All right. Oh, one more.
You're from the IT perspective, so you're one of the brainiacs. So you come in, I'm married to a brainiac, so it's easy for me to see it from the layman's perspective. So you're consulting small businesses, which are usually by definition people who are very product oriented or service oriented. So what do you find is the biggest deficiency that they have when it comes to technology and when it comes to introducing them to technology and training them to use the technology that you're consulting them on? Because from my own perspective, I'm lucky I have my own consultant at home. But,
Right.
what do you think they're missing? And conversely, what do you think you're missing from the perspective of management in the sense that you're that person in the IT world?
Yeah, so what we see a lot of the time is small businesses, they fail to understand the ramifications of their infrastructure. So a lot of companies look at IT as a redheaded stepchild that's in the attic. They don't want to spend money on it, and because they know but they don't realize that what they do every day is on a computer. They need their equipment, they need their servers, they need their internet, they need that stuff to function. Otherwise, their business doesn't function. And a lot of companies look at that and they don't want to spend any money on it. So it's my job to get them to see the benefit of, if you're down for 2 days or 3 days, or if you have a catastrophe and you're down for a week, how much business do you lose? How many of your employees can work? Well, none. So I have to try to get them to see it. Now, it takes a long time. Some people are old school, and they just do not want to spend money on IT until it's a problem. When it's a problem, it's too late. You're now going to spend more than it would have been if you'd been being proactive. So a lot of people want to be reactive, and I'm trying to change all of our clients to be proactive. Get ahead of the game, because if you're ahead of the game, you will spend less money on IT. We have many clients that we don't see for months. Their IT just works. It just does what it's supposed to. And that's where we try to help them be more efficient in their infrastructure. Now, as far as their applications or how they run their business, if they're inefficient within their business structure, I can try to help them, because it's just business, help them say, hey, there's a technology that'll make this more efficient for you. And you'll save time and money, and maybe free up that person to do another job that you're behind on. So we'll try to help them with that. As far as, and that's the big thing from their point of view. And the second point was?
Well, I mean, you introduced technology that a lot of people probably don't. I personally am one of those people that don't understand. How do you teach them to use that, or do you just steer them in the right direction? Or because I know what I know better than anybody knows.
Right.
Because that's what I do.
Right.
And you know what you do. So where the communication thing, the relationship is what I'm curious about.
Yeah, so say you needed remote access at your office and you didn't have it, and you were the CEO, and you're like, hey, I've got Stephanie, she needs to get in, and I want Paul to get in and do their job when they're at home. That's my accountant, that's my office manager. And I said, great, there's a technology that'll do that for you. We can put that in, and then we'll train them. So we'll install it on their home stuff, and then we will teach them how to use it. So that way, when they're comfortable using the technology. So that's just part of implementing the technology. You can't just implement something and say, well, good luck, you got it. You've got to train those users how to use it. Some people are easier to train than others. That's just how it is. But most of the time, the technology on the back end, we do all the configuration to make it as easy as possible for an average user to just use the basic technology. What a lot of people don't understand is how much time and effort goes in on the back end, what you don't see. All the stuff that we do behind the scenes, it's the guy behind the curtain, well, that's a lot of work. And then all you have to do is click a button. I can't tell you how many times I got people go, well, can't you just click the button and it'll be fine? No. Yeah, I did all that work behind the scenes so you can click the button. But no, I can't just click a button and make it work. I don't have server dust or anything like that. There's a lot of work involved. But when we sell the technology, we will walk them through that technology. So we'll train them, show them how it works, explain it to them, and then it's documented. So they have that information. So if one day I'm completely bald here and they go, we don't like Ken anymore, they'll have a full binder of all their stuff, everything they need. And they can hand it to the next guy and say, well, here's my network. And the new guy will go, wow, this is great. And then they can just keep on running with the ball.
Do you find that's the most difficult thing that you do in implementing all of your recommendations and all the things that you do, or is it selling the product in the sense of analyzing what they need, what their needs are?
It's more of trying to doing the training on a new product or trying to get a group of people to learn a new product that is being deployed is actually not that difficult. Once it's explained, and I'm really good at explaining how technology works or how you use it, and I can describe it and do demos, but the hardest part is getting to the goal and getting them to understand what they want. Because a lot of companies or a lot of people in a company, one guy wants this, one guy wants that. Nobody really knows what each other wants. You get all the principal people into a room and you go, okay, you're looking to do what? Well, we need to do X. Okay, well, in order to do X, we have several ways of doing that. Let me give you 3 of the best options. And then you pick that, and then they discuss it, and then we come back and narrow it down. Okay, so here's option A, option B, here's the benefits and disadvantages. The hardest part is getting to that. Getting the initial, how do I do that? What do we want to do? Because a lot of people, they just have computers and they're just there. They don't. Right, yeah, they're just selling widgets, but they don't realize that if they had this other thing that could make their company more efficient or better, it would change the way they do business. It just takes time to get to that point. That's the hardest part in doing consulting.
Okay, thanks.
Well, and can I just piggyback on what you were saying? So a lot of times we've come in and it seems like their networks are set up so that they're working for the technology instead of having the technology working for them. I mean, they're constantly fighting their network or their system or their PC.
That's why I explained it that way, because
it's constant fight, and it shouldn't be that way. And I think that's where we've been able to kind of help.
Yeah, so that's the other thing is a lot of
smaller companies.
Yeah, you don't want to have to constantly fight your technology. The technology is supposed to be working for you. It's a tool. So it's supposed to make your life easier. It's supposed to make it, I come in the morning, I can do my job, it should be fast, I can get it done, boom, 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 walk out, go get a coffee, I don't know, let the computer do its thing while I go talk to Steve about the problem and whatever. Right. That's what it's supposed to do. And a lot of places it's the opposite. They're constantly fighting the technology to get it to do something or whatever, or they're not doing something correctly, or it's set up wrong. So when we come in, normally we're looking at the whole picture. I look at everything. So I can say, oh, okay, you're missing this, or you don't have that. If we put this in, this will make everything way better. And this is why. And once that's installed and set up and configured, then pretty much it runs itself. We have a lot of clients that we rarely see because once it's running, it's just in maintenance mode, we call it. We come out once every 6 months or every quarter, make sure everything is good, give you a good bill of health, see you next 6 months.
Great. You're okay if we take one more question?
Sure.
All right.
You are in a fast-changing, fast-growing industry. The more I hear it, the more I think that it is your intellectual capital that gets all these things moving. It so happens that we use IT to move the intellectual capital. Now, let's look at success for a moment. And here you are, all of a sudden the business grew to such fashion, a la Steve Jobs, a la than any of these people. Have you ever had a vision of the possibility that this could happen to you?
Yeah, it's a little different. Whereas, you know, those guys, when they started, it didn't exist. Like computers, personal computers, they built the software and started that. So they were the pioneers ahead of me. So they started the industry, and now I work in the industry. Now, is there going to be a revolution? I'm going to come up with a product? Probably not, because I am more of an engineer and an architect. Would someday I have 1,000 engineers and I'm like, you know, we have KTG shirts, guys running around fixing everything? Maybe that'd be great. But I mean, but then I believe when you get to a company that gets so big, it's not personal anymore. It's an entity by itself, and it just grows. And I want all my clients and my employees and everybody it's personal. So
remember how I pressed the question? Fast changing, fast growing.
Oh yeah.
And that your product is your intellectual capital, not the service.
Correct.
Okay? And therefore, because it is your intellectual capital, you may not know it, you will probably have already created that product.
And I might have.
You probably have.
And I just don't know it yet. I may have already invented it, and I just don't know it yet.
I've been listening to you very, very careful, because you're sitting on a product, my friend, it's your intellectual capital, and you don't know it today, but you're going to grow more than 50 people in the next 10 years.
And that would be fantastic. I would be happy with that.
All right.
That was my question.
All right, well, let's all send Ken with our really good vibes for his super growth that's going to happen over the next 10 years.
I like that. It's great.
So much for helping us out tonight.